Okay, so let's get started. So thanks again for everyone's interest in this cycle's participatory budgeting in our district. So tonight is an orientation for everyone who's interested in becoming a volunteer in this process. So thanks so much for being here tonight with us. And a quick introduction, my name is Weilai Rice. You probably already know I'm the district director for the council member's office, and also have my colleague Greg Clark here, who's the legislative budget coordinator. So we'll be the main contact person in the office for this process. Okay, so this is tonight's agenda. We'll move on to the next page. And as we mentioned before, what are budget delegates? Budget delegates are volunteers who develop ideas from neighborhood assemblies, informal idea collection, and online idea map, and turn them into concrete proposals for the district ballot. So we just did the neighborhood assembly, and everyone has been, thank you so much for using the idea map to input your ideas. I know there were some glitches this morning because there was the deadline extended till the end of the month. So I got several emails that people were not able to use the website this morning, but I think now it's fixed. If you still have an issue, feel free to reach out to me after the meeting. And now we can talk about how to actually develop the proposal. So the first phase will be preparing for the proposal development, which is now we're in October. So right now we're doing the orientation. And tonight before the meeting, I also sent a spreadsheet of all the collected ideas as of yesterday. So I know there were some more ideas submitted after that. I will try to find a way. I can probably try to get the more updated version from the central office. Once I have that, I'll be happy to share with everyone. So you can review this before we meet with the agency. So we can decide which ones has the potential to be developed into the actual proposals, which ones might not fit the criteria, as we mentioned during the assemblies. Just to keep that in mind, it should be capital projects over $50,000 and have a 5-year lifespan. And then the next phase will be from November to December. So that will be the narrow down the list of ideas. And then we can really start developing the proposals. Then we'll submit for the agency venting. And then the next phase is January, the agency venting. So you'll review the feedbacks from the agencies. Then we'll, according to the feedback, we revise the proposals, then determine the ballot projects. And then from March to April will be the expos and vote. We'll prepare for the project expos and have the get out the vote and the vote week. And then that's another round. We need a different type of volunteers. Everyone's welcome to join them. We have the poll worker, and you can go out to tell your neighbors. So we can talk about that later, talk about this later. Okay, so, and we'll have the support for delegates too. So the first one, we actually don't have this one. This is more for the office who had participated in PB in the previous cycles. And right now we're still in our first cycle. So we're kind of recruiting the group of our budget delegates. So I don't think we'll have this one for now, but then you'll have the council member staff, which is me and Greg here. And of course, if there's anything from other colleagues of us, they'll be happy to help as well. So we'll be the liaison between the budget delegates and agency representatives. So for example, on October 27th, if you're unable to attend the agency briefing, but if you have any questions about the proposals you want to make, feel free to email them to me or Greg. Then we'll be happy to pass those questions to the agencies and get the answers for you. And also we're here to provide technical feedback on projects. And then on the 27th, you'll meet the agency representatives. Then they will present a brief overview of the agencies and the capital spending plans during the agency briefing. I believe in the last email, I also sent some one-pager information from some agencies. We're still receiving some of them. I think right now we have DOT, we have Queens Public Library. If once I have more from, say, School Construction Authority or any other agencies, I'll be sure to share them with you before the agency briefing. And then the agency representative also can help you to review and venting proposals for eligibility and also provide the cost estimates. And next page. And the next page, so we'll go through the slides first, then we can quickly go over the ideas we have received so far. And as you were putting in the ideas on the idea map, you'll see there are different categories. So that means we can actually form some different budget delegates, because I know some of you here are very much interested in a school project. So we can, for example, we can form a school committee for the budget delegates. Then this group will be focusing on developing the proposals which are related to schools. And then I know some of you are very focused on the street safety, transit related issues. So as you can see, you can be a safety team, street safety. So I mean, the name that's up to you, but we can talk about this further later, or parks, recreation, community and culture. So you can just see some quick samples here. So this is just ideas. So we have break out into smaller groups for more discussions. In this one, every group can be more focused into 1 or 2 proposals. So we can it's a better use of everyone's time, because this is a volunteer job. So I know it's a lot of commitment from you all. So thanks so much for your time. And the next, I'll turn to Greg.
Awesome. Thank you, Weilai. So just to quickly run through project eligibility, once again, I promise you, I'm not this much of a broken record, but just want to make sure you all are aware, again, for the projects that we're going to be focused on for this participatory budgeting, they cost at least $50,000. They are no more than $1 million, and they have a lifespan of at least 5 years, with that asterisk of for any sort of technological upgrades, it can be 3 years. And again, we're focused on capital projects involve the construction, reconstruction, or installation in or around public spaces. So building things, making things, creating things, not providing services. And the projects must serve a public purpose. So these are only going to be things that are directly owned by the city or one of the agencies. We can't necessarily have projects that are for outside entities that may have a relationship to the city, or things that are owned by private individuals, religious organizations, co-ops, etc. We're just going to be focused on public projects because we're utilizing city dollars, so they are going to be things that are going to be owned by the city. So here's a bit more detail on the ineligible projects, but these I'm going to give you all some more tricky examples. So preventative maintenance programs, so things like painting, cleaning, and replacing cleaning supplies, or maybe a small renovation of a city office or city owned office building. Things like supplies and inventory, or low cost equipment that are bought in bulk. Things like trash cans and furniture. These are not eligible projects. Most of them because they fall under that $50,000 threshold, right? You think about books, you think about printer cartridges, you getting $50,000 worth of printer cartridges. That's a lot of printer cartridges. But things like a renovation of an office, even if it may seem minor, things like painting or carpentry, or minor carpentry, they're just not going to be capitally eligible unless you are replacing like building systems. But I would also warn that if we get into these renovations, they can also be a bit expensive. So be wary of that as well. But these are just to give you a flavor of some things that are not going to be eligible, building off of what we talked about during our neighborhood assemblies. So there, I will be open and upfront with you all. There are going to be some challenges and some barriers that we will face. When talking with the agencies, they are the technical experts, and they will be able to provide feedback, especially surrounding costs, or just like general feasibility of these projects. So they may reject like a phasing in of a project or a bundling of a project. I will also say that proposals, what we want is for them to be detailed and pretty specific. But some projects are complex and they may be extensive, and getting a cost estimate could be tough from one agency, right? Because oftentimes many things may touch different agencies. Let's take sidewalks, for example. So the sidewalk itself is actually under the Department of Transportation. But let's say there's a tree, alongside the curb that's growing. The tree itself is actually under Parks' jurisdiction. So sometimes knowing which agency you have to go to for a particular project, especially the more complex the project is, it can create difficulties in getting a cost estimate for something like replacing a sidewalk and cutting down, 5 trees. That would actually not be a hard one, but that's just to give you a flavor of like how sometimes it can be difficult to really hone in on what some of these projects could cost. Also be wary that the city does have high engineering standards, and they can raise costs. They can also make projects ineligible because, again, we have that $1 million cap. So the agents, thankfully, y'all don't have to do that work to figure out that information. The agencies, they'll conduct a feasibility study before they even approve a project. So like Waylai mentioned in that agency feedback period, there will be much back and forth between the agencies, so you will know what is able to be done. There may also be some projects that require expense funding, for maintenance, for salaries of maybe a worker to take care of a particular area. Let's say, this obviously we couldn't do in participatory budgeting, but what if we built a park? We wanted to hire a maintenance worker in order to take care of the park and make sure the grass is cut, so on and so forth. We have to keep that in mind when suggesting some of these projects. And that's, it can't be, those expenses can't be funded through participatory budgeting, but they can be something that our office or we can talk with the Parks Department or other departments to ensure that there's adequate funding for this. But just be mindful of that when considering or looking through project ideas. So how will you prioritize proposals? This is just a framework and something for you all to kind of get the wheels turning on. Waylai sent over a list of the projects that have been submitted into the idea map. So you're getting a flavor of what folks in the community would be interested in doing. But in terms of prioritizing these, we have to understand, is there a need for this project? What about equity? Does it, address equity in our district? Also, how feasible is it? The agencies will do that. So with all of this information that we will take into account, using you all's knowledge as community members and folks involved in our district, but also, with the expertise and technical expertise of the agencies, as well as we may provide, us as a council staff may provide some feedback. You can use all of these metrics to help prioritize certain projects and ensure that, if this is something that the community needs and it hits some of these points, it could be something that'd be worth prioritizing. But we also will, want to acknowledge that this is just, an example of a framework that can be used. You all as budget delegates could decide to come up with something completely different, or even build off of this, or flush some of these points out. So what does it actually mean that the neighborhood has a need? What does it mean to address equity in our community? What does it mean to be feasible? These are things that you all can kind of ruminate on and discuss here in this setting.
Okay, I can take over here. Thanks, Greg.
Yep.
So the next step, once, as Greg mentioned, you received the list from us today. So after this meeting, feel free to take a look at the list, and I already sorted them by different categories on different fields. And then this is what you can use. So there are resources you can use to assess the needs and prioritize which project we should put on the proposal. So you can use the New York City Open Data, which is a great website. You can get a lot of information, and you can use the maps of socioeconomic indicators. You can do field research. And for example, I believe the several are about the school projects, or the parents or the teachers from the school submitted the ideas. So that's where you see the need in the community. And another important tool is the agency briefings, which we'll have next week. And also the idea ranking tool. I believe I shared with you all on the orientation invite last week. If you don't have it, please let me know. I'll be happy to share with you again. And I can show that here later as well. And that's a very important tool too. You can give rankings to each ideas that were collected on the idea map, then uses to give them scores, and maybe can help you to find out which proposal we should prioritize. Oh, actually, here it is. This is the idea ranking tool. So this is just a sample here. You can see here has 3 different projects listed here. And in the sample, we used 3 questions. Is there a high need for this project? Then you can rank it from 1 to 4, as 4 as the highest point. And the second question, how feasible is this project? And number 3, how much impact will this project have equity in the community? And then there are also some sample research questions underneath. So this is a great tool you can use for the next week or so. You can use this form as an example to build off from. Then you can evaluate all the ideas has been submitted, or even maybe you have new ideas, because we're still open to everyone can still submit ideas on the idea map, and we still have time to have discussion about them. And then our end goal is for next spring, March and April. So you can see the first photo, they show the sample ballot. We'll do the vote, and then the community decides what we're gonna have the new project in our district. And sorry, I'm actually okay. So I think that's all from us. So now we can open the floor to everyone. If you have any questions you want to talk about, this is a great time. Thanks so much for You want to, if anyone wants to raise your hand or drop in the chat.
I just wanted to ask, the deadline for ideas is October 31st?
Yes, so
Okay.
the idea is October 31st. However, we do encourage everyone trying to put in the idea maybe before the 27th, since we have the agency briefing. So this way we can make sure we can talk to the agency. If you have any questions, you can go over, make sure it's feasible and if it's within the budget to do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions at this moment? Okay, great.
I think Mary, you have a question?
Oh, sorry.
Can you unmute?
Hey, hi.
Uh-oh, you muted yourself again.
Up, unmute.
Okay,
Now
I can hear you,
you're-
Mary. Sorry.
Okay. Just want to say hi to everyone. Looking forward to working with all of you. And I'm just looking, it just really sounds like it's going to be very exciting. I'm glad to be part of this group. And that's about it.
Great. Thank you for sharing.
And I want to thank both of you for all of your time and effort that you're putting into this. I really appreciate it. But I have to go. I have to go to this next meeting in a few minutes. I've got to go. We have a 115th community meeting at in a few minutes. So
No problem. We'll be in contact. If any question, just reach out to our office.
yeah, I'll be leaving in a few minutes. You'll just see me. You know, I'm still here, but I'll be just leaving in a few minutes. So
Okay, sounds good.
okay.
And I do see another question in the chat from Jennifer. What about school playground? Does that fall under education or parks? Actually, I think Greg and me just had a discussion about this, and we do think this falls under the school construction authority. Is that correct, Greg?
Yeah. So we've actually done projects recently for school playground renovations, and they usually fall within SCA.
Okay.
Sometimes, you know, it can get a bit tricky if the playground becomes, you know, open to the entire community, or it becomes designated as sort of like a public park. There can be some, you know, jurisdictional like things, but I think for the most part, it's going to be under education. But I will also note that the agencies will clarify that. So, you know, if you want to ask that of SCA, they'll give you that definitive for sure answer. But from my understanding, it will fall under SCA or within the schools.
Great. Since we have some time, actually, I'll go through the slide real quick. And I thought Greg and me were talking about maybe we can show the spreadsheet of the ideas we collected so far, so we can quickly run down about some project. We can look at it. We already know it's expense project that won't fit into this PB process, or they might be way too expensive. They won't be qualifying as an under $1 million project for the PB as well. Let me see. I think we got another question. Okay, Ralph has a question is, we naturally choose project, or do we as individual to advocate for our pet project? That's a great question. So I think, as Mary mentioned before, you'll be working as a group. So our office is here to support. So you do have to make a pitch for your fellow budget delegates why you think this project is important, right? And also remember here, we're not only putting out one proposal. There'll be about 8 to 10 proposals we'll be able to put out. So it's not one or none. So I think there's some room there, and definitely if you think one project really meets the need of the community, do the best you can to convince your fellow budget delegates and see how many of them will agree with you. So, but I think this is a great question. And so far we've seen a lot of projects. I already think a lot of them will be great for our community. Okay, John. Okay, John, I see there's a list of questions from you. So let me answer you one by one. So the first question said, you saw the spreadsheet that any reason why the support list count were not captured. So I have to apologize because I was trying to get that spreadsheet out real quickly. And I noticed because when the central office sent us the spreadsheet was from, I think that maybe they capture like Sunday night or early in the morning. So I was looking at the site to compare the support list count. It's actually not accurate. So that's why I was going to do more updates and send another round around. This is why some projects I see like now they have like over 30 supports, but in the spreadsheet I received it only has 0. So I didn't want to send that inaccurate information to you all. And also I thought at the meeting for the budget delegates, and you can have more discussion about that once we have the more accurate data. And next question, are we all confirmed as budget delegates? Are there any additional steps? No, yeah, you are. If you would like to be the budget delegates, then you're in. There's no interview, and anyone would like to volunteer your time to do this, you're in. And when do we?
Can I add something real quick to that, Wei Lai?
Sure.
So I just want to make sure if you haven't registered for the Zoom, please do, so that we can have your name, and you can be, noted as wanting to be a budget delegate, because your participation here is signaling to us that you want to be a budget delegate. And if you do not, please do reach out to us and let us know, so that we can take you off of any sort of further communications, and be aware of that.
Yep. Thanks for that, Greg. Let me see what's the next question. When do we start drafting the proposals? After the 27th? I think so, yes. So this is basically the first round of vetting with the agencies. So after the 27th, I think everyone will have a better idea of the list of the current ideas, which ones has the potential of develop into a solid project for the PB, and which ones we unfortunately have to cut them off. Like say they don't fit the criteria of under the capital project, or in terms of how much funding we will need to complete them. Then
yeah, could I also add a bit to that? Just going back to the slide that Wei Lai shared earlier in the presentation. So from for the next couple, after the agency briefing, there's going to be a couple of months, November and December, which we understand that is holiday time and folks may be traveling. So that's why there's a bit of an extended time. But it looks like before the beginning of the year, you all are going to be, again, drafting proposals, flushing out some of those ideas, getting in contact with the agencies, and understanding the feasibility around that, so that after we get back at the first of the year, there can be some discussion. The agencies may provide some of their feedback, and we can further revise some of these projects, so that they're ready to go by early spring. Because before you know it, you all will need to be done with these proposals, and then vote on them as a body, and then they will need to be prepared so that they can be put on the ballots, which will happen in March and April. So it may seem like a long time from now, but there's, it's going to come quicker than I think folks will think. So definitely encourage you all, in your committees to kind of come up with a few ideas and start drafting them as soon as possible. Yeah.
Great, thanks. The next question, are we each to do the spreadsheet ranking things from 1 to 4 and submit them? When's that due by, and where do we submit? So I have to be honest, this is our first time doing the PV, so I don't really know the best way to do it. Ideally, pre-COVID, now all of us will be in one room, so I can pass by like a sheet of paper to everyone, so you can do the ranking and right there, right now. However, giving things is a little different nowadays. We're doing the Zoom. So feel free to reach out to us, and I'll be happy to also create a Google form for everyone to fill out as well. So this is something we're still developing, and I'll definitely be in touch by like tomorrow or by later this week. We'll have something circling around. Then this way we'll have a tool that we can use without having to commit to an in-person meeting to collect the information. So something we're still trying to develop, but once I have that, I'll send that around. And then for the next question, I hope that answers your question. And number 5, is there a limit of ideas which we can propose? There's no limit of any ideas you can propose. However, as Greg mentioned earlier, remember the agencies will be venting the ideas and they will find out which one is actually feasible. And maybe, or if we're talking about the proposal, like the number of proposals that eventually goes on the ballot, we mentioned this during the neighborhood assembly. Generally, we think that 8 to 10 is about the good number to have, because keep in mind the total project will have $1 million. And we saw in the example, some project costs about like 250,000 to like 300,000. So if you put 20 projects on the proposals, then each of them will be super tiny and might not really be, not sure if that's the best use of the community, the money for the community. So we kind of want to find the balance of a good amount of projects that's eventually will make up the $1 million. But right now, don't limit yourself. You have any ideas, keep putting them into the idea map, and you never know. Maybe you have overnight, you have like 100 likes, you find out that's actually the community, what the community really wants. The next one, how do we break up delegates into the groups? And you're talking about, okay. So this one, Greg can add more. So my thoughts is, I know some ideas are proposed by certain budget delegates. So if you do feel strongly about certain ideas or proposals, feel free to email me. Then just email us to let me know which proposal you really would like to wish to develop. If they do pass the agency briefing and the agency says, yes, that's a great idea, let's work on this, develop into a proposal, then I'll reach out to all of you who are interested in doing that one. Then this way we can start having ideas of who will be focusing on which proposal. And also, you don't have to be only in one proposal, in one committee too. So for example, you're interested in some school projects, but at the same time, you're also interested in some street safety projects. So feel free to be in both committees so you can help with both proposals. You don't have to do all of them, but you're also not limited to do only one of them. Greg, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Nope, I think you pretty much covered it. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. I see Sarah is a template we'll use to develop the proposal. Is there a proposal from years past that we can use as a model? I'll leave this one for Greg to answer.
Yeah, so we will probably provide, or we're continuing to get information from the council support staff. So as we continue to get that information, we'll be able to help guide you all better. So there likely is a template and past things or past proposals that have been used, that have been successful, that we will have access to and we'll be able to share. We don't have those at this exact moment, but as we get towards November and December, when we are going to be beginning to really hone in on some of those ideas and start developing those proposals, we'll be able to share information with you. So we don't have anything as of this point, but you know, we should have something soon. And if not, please do reach out to us, and then we can ask and, you know, get that information to you all.
Okay. If anyone else has a question, feel free to drop in the chat or raise your hand. If not, we'll move to the next slide. And we can always stop if there is a new question. So feel free to raise your hand and let us know. So we're actually not going to do the breakout for now. To the next page. So here's some dates with the upcoming agency briefing. So for us, we're only focusing on the one in Queens, which is October 27th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. I will be sending over the Zoom link before the next briefing, before the agency briefing next week. Okay, so that's it for the presentation. So right now, I thought we can use just a few minutes to quickly go over the spreadsheet I sent over this afternoon. We're not going to go into much details into this. So I thought, because I just sent it really about like an hour ago, I know probably everyone didn't have enough time to go through it yet, but we just do want to point out a few things here that no idea is bad idea. Just unfortunately, PB process does have its own criteria. So some of these ideas proposed here just might not fit under this PB process. So I just want to say that first. And I have put them into the different categories so I can see the first four we'll discuss. So for example, the first four focus on the community center, YMCA. Unfortunately, this is something we discussed during the neighborhood assembly. They're great projects, but they're too expensive. This is not something you can do with $1 million. So unfortunately, these probably won't be able to be developed into the proposal just for this PB process. But like community center is a priority for Councilmember Shaker Kushner's office, and we are actively looking for a space that where we can bring a community center to the district. So if you guys see any building or any vacant building, any land, send them our way, then we'll do the investigation. We'll find out if that's something we can do. Just that's not for the PB process. And also want to point out, and this few great proposal for the schools. I know for the PS 148, the bathroom, the play yard, for PSIS 102, also for the schoolyard. So these are all great proposals. So for example, if anyone who are interested in developing these into the proposals, then that can be the committee for the school project. And if you're interested, just reach out to me or Greg. This way we can start putting down a list for each committee members. I do want to point out though, this one here is about the English for speakers of other language. Unfortunately, this won't qualify as a capital project. This is more like a service, which falls under the expense project, I think, Greg?
Yeah.
Okay. And also similar to this one, food bag program looks great. Unfortunately, it's not, it's a service program. It's not going to be a capital investment. We'll be able to fund doing this. And then we'll also see the tennis court improvement. I think that's a great project for the PB process. So we really look forward to see how that can be turned into a real proposal. Then there's a lot of safety tips. Some of them, like I think there were some adding a bike lane or see earlier race crosswalk, or install speed camera. So those are all something I have to say, we're not sure if that will definitely fit under the PB process, but then that's something we can definitely ask on the 27th when the DOT or any other agencies are here. Then those will be the question for them. And so let's just kind of give you an idea of what we're thinking. Some of them might fit under this capital project, some might not. This one more I just want to show is, I was looking at it, sorry. Okay, like the graffiti removal. So this one will be an expense, will be a service. This won't be a capital project. As I think we mentioned earlier, maybe buying the equipment for cleaning the graffiti could fit under the capital project. But still, remember the minimum has to be 50,000 or more. Okay, so I'll stop sharing here. Go back to here. Okay, I see there's one more question. Ralph said, which agencies will be there on 27th? I'm trying to think the answer. So I think DOT, Department of Transportation, then I do think the School Construction Authority, Parks. I think the Queens Public Library, I believe they're also one of them. Greg, do you remember what's the other agencies that will be joining?
Yes, I'm trying to look it up right now.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if there's some information. But even though we don't have any in our district, NYCHA will be there. Who else? You mentioned School Construction Authority, Parks, DOT, I believe Health and Hospitals, maybe there as well.
Yeah.
I think, is there any other? QPL.
Yeah, QPL mentioned.
But we can get you all a list of the agencies that will be at the agency briefing on the 27th beforehand. So we'll make a note of that and follow up.
Yeah, and Parks definitely will be there. I know they're one of the agencies for sure. And also, if you cannot, so I hope everyone will be able to make it. I know you probably have other things planned, but if you can make it, that's great. If you cannot, always feel free just to email your questions to me and Greg, and we can try to get the answer for you as well. So it would be good if you can talk to the agency directly, but just remember, we're the supporting staff here. We're always here to help, and we can be the bridge between you and the agency and pass any questions you might have to them and get the answers. I think that's all for now. So as I mentioned, I'll send a follow-up email, hopefully sometime tomorrow. I'll try to share out. Let me see, maybe I'll stop sharing, and I'll also